Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney.
The X-Men have always been a beloved franchise, but the OG timeline's probably been through more changes than the MCU's multiverse, even after the events of Loki Season 2.
Us as a child, us in the future, and us as an alligator.
That hasn't stopped these badass characters from showcasing their most savage flexes every now and then, so I figured it was about time I showed some love to them.
You picked the wrong house, Bob.
That's exactly why today the TV Regent is presenting to you the top 25 most badass X-Men flexes in the movies.
I'm the Juggernaut!
We're kicking things off with what I like to call one of the best fourth wall breaks in any of the X-Men movies. Yeah, sure, Deadpool has a huge load of those, pun not intended there, but he always makes it very obvious.
You might want to look away for this. Now this little piggy went to.
So this moment gets some points for being a little unique and subtle. With Juggernaut in X-Men The Last Stand, it was a total surprise to see him scream out his own name.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut!
And the fact that they managed to synchronize this with him literally breaking through walls is what makes this scene such a classic entry. Yeah, I know he eventually gets bested even after such an iconic line, but that's the point here, isn't it? The Juggernaut is known for being this massive monster who can get through anything in his path, so when Kitty Pryde tries her little tricks on him, the look on his face was priceless. Bro really asked her if she knew who he was, although I wouldn't blame her ignorance considering he was being held in top secret captivity before that.
Juggernaut.
Overall, it's a nicely done sequence and the effects are very believable, especially with the way Juggernaut smashes his way out of the floor. To be honest, I was actually expecting to hear this line in Deadpool 2, but I guess I'm always asking for too much, aren't I?
Senator Kelly, this is Colonel William Stryker.
As I recall, you were a staunch supporter of the Registration Act, Senator.
William Stryker may have been the main villain of X-Men 2 and pretty much all of the Wolverine's existence, but the man sure knows how to drop a line. Take this instance in X-Men 2, where he meets Senator Kelly to discuss the whole mutant situation. Of course, the talk in itself isn't anything too special because it's just the usual dirty politics.
William, you enter, you detain, you question. The last thing we need to see is the body of a mutant kid on the 6 o'clock news.
But it's what happens afterwards when Kelly and Stryker have a word without the presence of the president. At first, it just seems like some good old talk between a middle-aged and senior man.
Eric Lensher's prison. I'd like to arrange a visit if possible.
In this conflict, he is the enemy. You're just a spectator.
But things go south when they differ in opinion on the context of war. That's when Stryker drops a line that goes so hard it could have been used in a Drake song. Dude's got bars. The fact that he flexed his seniority in front of a freaking senator while also mentioning his mother's body parts is a total stamp of authority. Bro established dominance and didn't even leave any room for a comeback. Of course, I do need to mention that the actual senator had died in the OG film, and this is just Mystique in disguise, but even then, the flex still holds.
Stryker, do you really want to turn this into some kind of war?
I was piloting Black Ops missions in the jungles of North Viet, and you were sucking on your at Woodstock, Kelly. Grow those back.
It's a video covering flexes, so I think we can all expect to see the Wolverine show up multiple times here. And this one's pretty funny, but it also proves why someone like Logan can never be messed with, even if the tone of the scene is meant to be hilarious. The final battle in X-Men The Last Stand had a lot of moments that redeemed the film's overall plot issues. I just covered the Juggernaut entry, but I also want to talk about a mini battle that happens between the Wolverine and that weirdo starfish guy. For one, I was a bit surprised to see how quickly he could regrow his arms. I mean, even Logan had that typical WTF expression on his face.
Come on!
The highlight, though, was when Starfish kept trying to provoke Wolverine, so he cracked his eggs and left them scrambled. He did deserve it, though, because why would you want to anger a dude who's always ready to assassinate the next guy who pisses him off?
Come on!
Sure, kicking Starfish where no man ever wants to be kicked was a hilarious moment, but the key takeaway was when the Wolverine said, "Grow those back."
Grow those back.
Even if it's a villain being the victim, I'm sure every guy in the world can sympathize with that kind of pain, so I'd say Logan was being pretty savage here.
He's not alone.
They really should have done more with Apocalypse as a character, because he could have gone on to build the rebooted X-Men timeline with a lot more sass. I mean, he's obviously a mutant god, so there's no questioning his powers, but just take a look at when he launches those nuclear missiles with little assistance from an unwilling Professor X.
No more weapons! No more systems!
This isn't some basic flex to show how overpowered he is. This is a statement to make it clear that the humans aren't dealing with an average villain. The way he builds up his speech by saying "no more superpowers" gave me chills, because it presents his intentions as ominous and deadly. Charles Xavier is supposed to be one of the most powerful X-Men in the world, and with Cerebro, he's a whole other beast. However, Apocalypse simply brushes him aside and almost makes him his puppet as he prepares to nuke the whole world. And of course, how can I forget the whole "you can never strike God" line? It was so freaking badass that I almost froze for a second after watching it in the cinema hall.
You can never strike God!
The line delivery was flawless and totally established Apocalypse as a true supervillain.
No more swords! No more systems!
No more superpowers.
This is a shameful and reckless use of your powers.
Big chrome gobbler.
That's not nice.
You really gonna this up for me?
Does it?
Oh! Oh! Oh!
Juggernaut's fourth wall break moment was good enough to find its way here, but no one is taking away from the fact that Deadpool is a master of this craft. Seeing Ryan Reynolds portray the character in its truest sense was what made this film an instant hit, and the jokes just kept coming every few seconds.
You ever hear of the one-legged man in the kicking contest? Yeah, it's right next to the prostate. Or is that the on switch?
Kind of like the Stephen Hawking memes on TikTok and Instagram nowadays. Speaking of dudes in wheelchairs, I love the moment when Colossus tells Wade Wilson that he's to meet Charles Xavier. Hearing him ask if it was going to be Patrick Stewart or James McAvoy wasn't just hilarious, but also a flex on the existing X-Men franchise, because he was pretty much roasting them for the messed up timelines. Bro really went out there and violated his own universe, but hey, the TV region doesn't mind a bit of friendly fire every now and then, as long as it leads to some classic humour. Seriously though, the timing of Deadpool's line delivery was perfect here. I'm actually surprised that a dude like Ryan Reynolds doesn't do stand-up specials on Netflix. Remember though, you heard that idea here first.
Let us go talk to the professor.
McAvoy or Stewart? These timelines are so confusing.
Bobby, what did you do?
I didn't do this.
Deadpool may have somewhat roasted him in the previous entry, but make no mistake, Charles Xavier is a certified badass whom only a few select mutants can match. I've always stated that the OG X-Men sequel is better than its predecessor, and I've also shown you a lot of scenes that justified my point. However, there's one moment I haven't really spoken about much, so I'd like to bring your attention to it. This is when Pyro tries to show off in front of some bullies by lighting one of them on fire.
Don't get shook up, we're trying to have a good time.
Hey! What are you gonna do?
Of course, Bobby comes in to save the day, and we get to see a nice little mix of fire and ice, and not the Game of Thrones kind. However, both these dudes get humbled when the real boss steps in, or rather wheelchairs his way in. Seeing Professor X freeze everyone around the mutants within 1 business second was super impressive, and also served as a perfect entrance for him. What's even better is the fact that he puts Pyro in his place by telling him not to show off the next time he feels like it. That's a straight violation right there, and I don't think Pyro really recovered from this, considering he switched over to Magneto later. Bro's whole personality is based on fire, but he still couldn't take a burn. I just had to let that one out of my system.
And the next time you feel like showing off, don't.
Cyclops, right? You want to get out of my way?
Man, Professor X is on a roll with these entries, although this one really isn't in his favour. The Wolverine has never been known to possess any kind of filter, but we weren't really prepared for his personality back when we saw the first X-Men movie in 2000. Damn, that's almost a quarter of a century ago, isn't it? But I digress. The fact that Logan called Charles freaking Xavier Wheels was blatant disrespect.
Sabretooth. Storm. What do they call you? Wheels?
But what he also did here was establish the fact that he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. It's not just Charles he roasts here. Bro was giving dares to Cyclops despite the fact that he helped him recover at the X-Mansion. Okay, I get that because Scott was Jean's lover boy at the time, but damn, Logan was ready to pick a fight with him without any provocation. He really has no chill at all.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Cyclops, right?
Also, on a side note, I like how Professor X was teaching the mutant kids a lesson on physics. Like, we can't just ignore the fact that they might be having powers that defy the very same laws they're being taught. See, this is a good example of subtle filmmaking. It's becoming a lost art nowadays.
You were attacked. My people brought you here for medical attention.
I don't need medical attention. Wheels?
Okay, so I don't think I'm doing Charles any favours with these entries, but I've got to be unbiased with my selection. So here's the moment where Magneto beats Professor X in a battle of wits by leveraging the lives of several humans against Sabretooth being under some basic mind control. You know, I just realised the brilliance of this scene. When Eric says, "I can't stop them all," he's not lying, but not for the reason you'd think.
Care to press your luck, Charles? I don't think I can stop them all.
Magneto can tear up buildings, so he's definitely powerful enough to stop a few pounds of metal, but you gotta remember, these bullets are a bit too close to their victims, and Bro is also controlling the guns at the same time. He literally used his own limitations to win against the smartest man in the X-Men universe. I guess being a good guy really comes with a price, and Eric made sure to exploit that advantage.
That's enough, Eric.
Let them go.
Wanna come out when I can see you, Charles?
Also, in this scene, Magneto says they'll have you in chains with a number burnt into your forehead. Then, in X-Men Days of Future Past, the film opens with most mutants as prisoners with an M burned into their faces. I don't know if that was intentional, but it definitely struck a chord.
Can't you read my mind? Let them pass that law and they'll have you in chains with a number burned into your forehead.
Don't you people ever die!
Of course, I'm going to talk about my fave, Halle Berry. She's a babe who just can't stop slaying. Okay, I think I've gone too far with my fanboy behaviour there, but even so, that doesn't mean Storm isn't deserving of a place in this video, because she's had some pretty neat flexes over her time in the X-Men franchise. At first, they didn't really give her too much screen time because the focus was being spread across characters like the Wolverine and Magneto. However, she finally got her time to shine, or should I say her time to sparkle, when she was up against Toad. First of all, let me just say that I totally hate the character because he's just so filthy and messy from head to toe. Like, even actual Toads take a dip in the water every once in a while. What's stopping you, bro? Anyway, the lightning strike that Storm lands on him is an amazing flex because not only does it showcase her true powers, she also ends up killing Toad as a result of this. So basically, she's the only mutant who actually finishes the job, which should place her on a much higher pedestal.
The same thing that happens to everything else.
Something so small generates enough energy to reverse time.
Oh, just fix it.
Cable's gonna kill you when he finds out.
Never heard of him.
Why do you think I'm helping him?
You should never trust anybody, not even yourself. Well, that's a lesson Ryan Reynolds had to learn the hard way after Green Lantern.
God damn, that's beautiful.
Luckily, he has an amazing sense of humour, which is why the post-credit scene in Deadpool 2 has got to be the most hilarious one ever. Bro really went back in time to shoot himself over a film role. I know it creates a massive paradox and shouldn't be feasible as per time travel logic, but who cares? As a matter of fact, Bro did the whole time travel gimmick even before Avengers Endgame, so you could say that he was the one who inspired everything. I actually think it's an amazing flex because Deadpool acknowledges and recognises his mistakes, which is why he pulls off the most ridiculous fourth wall break in the history of fourth wall breaks.
Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break.
You know, if Wade Wilson is officially part of the MCU, then he's done more damage to the multiverse than Doctor Strange. Also, he actually shoots himself once more when he gets rid of the fake Deadpool from X-Men Origins. Bro was doing fan service during the whole sequence.
Finally figured out how to shut you up.
Hey, it's me.
Traverse the Regent security.
Man, you just gotta love a guy like Logan. He can do no wrong. Apart from his badass powers and savage attitude, he's always got a surefire way to prove his identity, even if someone like Mystique were to take his form. Take this example when Wolverine has to get rid of the metal detectors for, working properly, I suppose. It's not their fault that they can detect your adamantium, bro. Why you gotta do them dirty like that? Anyway, my point here isn't to appreciate Logan's metallic skeleton, but rather how he makes use of it to get past the PG-13 rating. Basically, when Cyclops doubts whether this is the real Wolverine, he simply gives him the finger, or should I say, the claw. It was the perfect way to hit two birds with the same stone, and it's also one of the reasons why people ended up liking the character more than a Professor X or a Magneto. But if Cyclops really wanted to check if this was the real Wolverine, then he should have tried blasting him to bits. A fake Logan wouldn't have been able to heal from that kind of injury so quickly.
We don't want to hurt you, kid.
You know all those dangerous mutants you hear about on the news? I'm the worst one.
Look, Logan doesn't really need someone to avenge him because he can do that all by himself. However, watching Pyro unleashing his flames on all those police officers was a treat for sore eyes. Well, that's if you like watching stupid cops burning to their deaths. They did deserve it though. Hugh Jackman is a fan favourite, so you should think twice before shooting him down. While I'll admit that this scene is a superflex, I also want to point out that Pyro forgot about Wolverine's healing powers. Maybe he just wanted to burn them all right from the start and was using that as an excuse. I also liked how the cop instantly shot Logan in the head when he pulled his claws back in, but when he saw Pyro freaking firebending as if he was in Avatar, The Last Airbender, he chose to just stand there and watch. Well, I guess you need some kind of plot armour if you want to showcase badass flexes like this one.
Individuals with extraordinary abilities may already be among us.
McTaggart, you really think that some crackpot scientist is going to make me believe in Barclay dames and vanishing men?
You can call Doctor Strange a kid's magician and get away with it, but Professor X does not take that kind of disrespect. Just consider the time he bamboozled an entire room filled with CIA agents with a few simple words.
My mutation allows me to do is that I can read your mind.
Are you going to ask us to think of a number between 1 and 10 now?
I could ask you about your son, William, who you were thinking about, which is very nice. I think I'd rather ask you about the Jupiter missiles America are currently placing in Turkey.
I've got good reason to believe that the writers picked the mutants with quite possibly the two worst mutations to put in front of any government official. I can't think of anything better for espionage than a telepath and a shapeshifter.
How's that for a magic trick?
Best I've ever seen.
So I guess the director's reaction was somewhat warranted. Another thing I love is how he doesn't show the people in the room the scary parts of his abilities, namely mind control and two-way unrestricted telepathic communication. He knew just how far to push them without getting the whole place locked down on high alert. I guess that's why Charles Xavier's biggest flex will always be his intelligence. But yeah, I also want to shout out Mystique for distracting everyone with her transformation. Everyone was left speechless.
Think you can take out your old friend?
I remember playing and watching Pokemon religiously when I was a kid, so it was common knowledge that fire beats ice. However, the world of X-Men doesn't follow that logic, and Bobby Drake proved it with how comprehensively he defeated Pyro in that final battle. Okay, I know I keep joking about this, but I think I should make something clear. Iceman is an Omega mutant, which means he's basically on the same power level as Jean Grey. So yeah, it's crazy to see how much he got nerfed in the movies. In all honesty, Pyro really had no chance here. At his peak, Bobby had absolute control over entropy and the vibration of molecules, meaning he was able to freeze anything with a mere thought. In the comics, he once killed Magneto by freezing his brain. He's capable of freezing all of Earth, and he can turn the air into solid ice and much more. Bro is a literal personification of water itself, and is pretty much immortal too. As an Omega level mutant, there really is no limit to his powers. Pyro, meanwhile, has to rely on those lighters strapped to his wrists just to be able to manipulate fire.
Maybe you should go back to school. You never should have left.
It's kind of surprising to see that the only R-rated film with the Wolverine in was Logan. I mean, even his own self-titled flick needed to take it easy with the F-bombs, and our man still managed to sneak one in thanks to the allowance made for PG-13 films. The scene in question here is when he's up against Harada and his ninja army. Honestly, this sequence isn't high on the list because of its fighting or anything like that. It's only because of the way Logan delivers his lines so well that it edges out most of the competition.
I'm gonna get her. We are grateful for your protection of Mariko, but there's one more sacrifice.
Go fuck yourself, pretty boy.
Man, I just can't imagine seeing Captain America swooping in at this very moment just to say something silly like language.
Shit! Language!
More importantly, it's the choice of words that sets this flex apart, because he's basically mocking Harada's intelligence as well as his looks with elite sarcasm. Bro should have used this line on Cyclops too. That would have been super hilarious.
Go fuck yourself, pretty boy.
Hello, Russell.
We kick off my top 10 with an entry that most definitely deserves to be in it. Deadpool 2 may not have been as funny or unique as its predecessor, but it still is a modern gem, and there's lots of flexes to choose from in this film. However, the sequence I want to highlight here is the fight between Wade Wilson and Cable when his powers are blocked by that weird slave collar.
I can't protect you with this collar on. My superpower is just unbridled cancer.
It looks like the creator of this concept really liked watching isekai anime. Anyway, the actual flex happens when our man actually breaks free and is able to stand up to Cable on his own. By that, I don't mean just the punches, I'm also referring to the words.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
Bro really took shots at the DCEU with a direct reference, and that takes a lot of guts, so this is a flex in real life. But yeah, nothing's gonna top that "I'm Batman" line. I would have rolled on the floor in laughter if the cinema allowed it.
No, that's got some zip.
Was hat sie nach Argentinien verschlagen?
Ach, das Klima. Ich bin Schweinebauer.
It's always nice to point out your roots, unless your name happens to be Eric Lenscher. No matter what you say about this man, he's had a horrible and tragic past, so his nature is very understandable. Although I don't agree with the needless killing. Having said that, I do want to point out that his encounter with those Germans at the bar was a top-tier flex because of the simplicity of his actions. The way the scene builds its intensity is amazing, and I have to give credit to Michael Fassbender for contemplating the tone of the sequence with his acting. You can truly sense Magneto's murderous intent, so when he mercilessly attacks his foes, you've pretty much expected it to happen. Making that Frankenstein reference was extremely neat as well, because it referenced his own origins while also commenting on the brutal nature of it.
Let's just say I'm Frankenstein's monster.
It's pretty savage stuff all in all, and it brings out an equally deadly outcome.
I have a job. I already have a job.
Lumberjack. 18 grand a year?
Plus, I haven't had to kill anyone in a while.
Starting to miss it.
Right about now, I am. 0. Back to the car.
I wasn't joking when I said Logan would be showing up multiple times in this list, and here he is again with a killer scene where he violates both Stryker and Zero with a couple of lines. Bro literally kicks off the sequence by saying he can smell the government, and that sets the whole tone of his conversation with them.
Who the hell is this? It smells like government.
Then the banter he has with Zero is freaking epic. All it takes is that small exchange and you can tell they don't like each other very much. However, the true highlight is when Stryker tells him that his country needs him and Bro simply replies by saying, "I'm Canadian." That one really had me in splits because it was so instant and smooth. Technically speaking, Canadians aren't supposed to be so forthcoming, but I guess Hugh Jackman is 1 in a million and also Australian.
Your country needs you. I'm Canadian.
These mutants. People like this Jean Grey.
If it were up to me, I'd lock them all away.
It's a war.
Where the hell are we?
Sometimes violence is the answer, and Mystique's rapid assault on Senator Kelly is the perfect example of it. I've mentioned this scene in my previous entries as well, but that was mainly to focus on the element of surprise. Here, however, I want to point out the line she says right as she whacks his face with those legs of hers.
You know, people like you are the reason I was afraid to go to school as a child.
We all know that Senator Kelly ain't exactly pro-mutant, so it makes sense for Mystique to talk about how her childhood was filled with her fear thanks to guys like him. Rebecca Roman did an amazing job in the OG trilogy, and this flex really highlights how well she blended into her character. This is exactly what a femme fatale is supposed to look like. Also, I'm not too sure about whether this is true, but apparently Rebecca actually kicked Davidson in the face by mistake during the shoot.
You're clear.
Have a nice sleep, Lyncher?
There it is. Too much iron in your blood.
Of course, this one had to be mentioned somewhere because it's a certified classic. As much as I want to show sympathy to Mr. Lario, my heart just can't bring itself to do so because Magneto's line here is S-tier stuff. Bro was spitting facts when he spoke about never trusting a beautiful woman, especially one who's interested in you.
Lario, never trust a beautiful woman, especially one who's interested in you.
It just goes to show that everything comes with a price, and in this case, it was Lario's life. Well, at least he got to hear a joke about the amount of iron in his body before he went. The flex doesn't just end there though. Magneto also makes a flawless escape using nothing more than a few metal balls. In all seriousness, I was extremely impressed by the way Eric was able to get out of such a high security facility, and that too while making the whole thing look majestic. It's truly impressive to see how dangerous he can be even when you give him the bare minimum.
I got places to be, a face to fix, and oh, bad guys to kill.
Maximum effort.
Cockshot!
Wade Wilson has never been one to shy away from a shady line or an extreme joke. However, sometimes even he needs to take it easy because there are other factors in play. Take the opening sequence to 2016's Deadpool as an example. Forget the fact that bro destroys an entire gang of goons with minimal effort, he also lands one joke after the other while he's in the process of slicing them up.
Weather.
Ow! Yankee!
The best moment is easily the time when he shoves the car's lighter into his victim's mouth and tells him not to swallow. It's got to be one of the best puns I've ever heard in my life, and the fact that Wade Wilson's able to pull it off so naturally only goes to prove why he's one of the main king of flexes in the world of Marvel. Can't believe it's been almost 6 years since we got a solo flick from the naughty assassin.
I've never said this, but don't swallow.
Hank?
Ororo, Charles.
Who's the furball?
Hank McCoy, Secretary of Mutant Affairs.
Right, the secretary.
If you're going to take the Wolverine head-on in a battle of sass, then you need to bring your A-game to the fight, otherwise you'll end up like the Beast from X-Men The Last Stand. To be fair, it was Logan who started the whole thing with his typical comments, and Hank must have thought he did something when he called Wolverine an animal.
Secretary of Mutant Affairs.
Right, the secretary.
Henry, this is Logan. He's
Wolverine.
I hear you're quite an animal.
But it only made things worse because bro had his response ready from yesterday. I mean, it's all banter at this point because they both become friends by the end of this film, but even then, I'll give credit to Logan for being able to best a man who's known for being extremely smart and calculative. Normally, I'd say I wouldn't take something like that, but if the words are coming from the freaking Wolverine, then I'd probably stay in my own lane.
I hear you're quite an animal.
Look who's talking.
We will shoot!
Freeze him, Charles. I come.
Heads up!
Save time in a bottle.
Even a stranger to the X-Men franchise will recognize this scene. It really is that popular. Evan Peters found his true mark of fame with this role, even though he doesn't get that much screen time. Then again, Quicksilver's kitchen scene was one of the key highlights from X-Men Days of Future Past, and quite frankly, the most viral one as well. My favorite part about this and the other amazing rescue from the X-Mansion is how gentle his movements are when he's interacting with people. Bro's moving so fast that he barely needs any force behind his movements to have hard-hitting results. The creators really thought of everything when making this sequence, and it shows. news. The results also speak for themselves, although I would have preferred it if Evan stayed away from that Dharma show.
I'd save every day like a trip again. I would spend them with you. I've looked around enough to...
They say you're the bad guy.
Is that what they say?
It's a dorky looking helmet. What's it for?
This dorky looking helmet is the only thing that's going to protect me from the real bad guy.
Pyro's in the spotlight yet again, but this time it's because of a really solid speech from Magneto. A mutant like Pyro needs to be handled delicately, and Eric could see that, which is why he ended up stealing him from Charles with a simple line on how the Fireboy is like a god amongst insects.
The talent you have there, Pyro.
I can only manipulate the fire. I can't create it.
You are a god among insects. Never let anyone tell you different.
Less than a minute in, and you can absolutely understand why Pyro chooses to go with Magneto at the end of the movie. It's such a strong scene. Bro was moved because this was what he needed to hear his whole life. And the way Magneto said it, you just knew he meant it 100%. I mean, many people never get that kind of acknowledgement in real life, so this was definitely a flex in terms of leadership, especially when you've beaten Charles Xavier.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Charles Xavier.
Go yourself.
If you're to ask me which entry truly deserves to be the top of the list without any bias whatsoever, then this is the only right answer. The Wolverine has always been the most badass character to have come out of the X-Men universe, and even Marvel in general, as per my opinion. Of course, he solidified it time and time again and can be seen in the entries I presented earlier, but nothing can ever top Logan dropping an F-bomb on Charles Xavier and freaking Magneto before they even get a chance to introduce themselves properly. Bro doesn't care if they're the two primary characters in the film, or even the fact that three of them have been dominating the entries on this list. He simply tells them to get lost in the most non-PG-13 way imaginable.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Charles Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
Logan has always been savage, and the way this scene is presented so casually makes it hilarious as well. However, the fact that he can be so nonchalant and badass at the same time is what sets him apart from any other superhero that you'll ever come across. This scene is all of probably 8 or 10 seconds, but it's still one of the most memorable moments of the entire movie, and that's saying something because X-Men First Class had a lot of amazing sequences. I've said it countless times before, Hugh Jackman totally nailed this role, and that's exactly why fans can never get enough of him. Deadpool 3 could not come any sooner.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Charles Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
Hope you liked that video. Please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that you're going to enjoy.